Hello. So I'll be presenting on our debate titled Should Genetic Data Be Shared Freely Among Researchers in Africa, even if it compromises privacy? My name is Miriam Gafe. I'm from Ghana and I'm working with Tohib Juma from Morocco, and we are opposing the motion. So genetic data refers to data derived from biological samples, and it's also identifies an individual's inherited or acquired genetic features. Genetic data is the intimate blueprint of your being on, or also known as your genetic code, and it helps in the understanding of disease mechanisms, and it helps in the development of drugs and many other more. Um, Data sharing is very critical in modern day science. It facilitates new discovery and enhances rigor and reproducibility. However, we must weigh the potential benefits of sharing data against the profound risk and then the ethical dilemmas that come with them. And so enhancing genetic data privacy is not just a matter of scientific progress, it's a matter of protecting human dignity, it's a matter of preserving the privacy of research participants, and also a matter of ensuring justice. While we agree that sharing genetic data is vital for driving genetic research, we believe that genetic data should not be freely shared, especially when it compromises privacy. And to argue this, we look at the risks that are involved in sharing genetic data. We look at it from the ethical, the legal, the research, the economical, and then the public perspective. So, in terms of ethics, freely sharing genetic data increases the risk of privacy breaches. Sensitive information could be accessed and misused by unauthorized parties such as insurance companies. And then also, sharing genetic data freely can also result in exploitation of the genetic data, where the data can be unethically used for commercial purposes without consent. And a typical example is a case of Henrietta Lacks. So Henrietta Lacks cells were used to develop the HeLa cell lines, which was taken without her consent. And this situation highlights the potential for exploitation and also the lack of recognition and compensation for individuals who provide genetic data. Another aspect is the legal aspect. Many African countries do not have robust legal frameworks to govern the sharing of genetic data. And so it becomes a struggle when you have to share data from country to country. There are no stringent rules or regulation that protect the data providers and also the study participants as well. For instance, the Ghanaian Data Protection Act of 2012 does not clearly define cross-border data transfers, and then it lacks specific provisions for international data transfer, unlike South African Data Protection Act that explicitly regulates the sharing of genetic data. Also, freely sharing genetic data can result in breaches of informed consent, where individuals are not fully aware or do not agree to the potential uses of their genetic information. And a typical example is the case of the Havasupia tribe in Arizona, where initially their samples were taken for a diabetes study with informed consent. But later on, these same samples were used for other studies that do not satisfy what the informed consent was about, right? And then also the absence of robust legal frameworks results in individuals and community being unable to address their grievance or seek justice if their genetic data is misused. Also, from the research perspective, Freely sharing genetic data may undermine local research capacity, and local institutions may struggle to compete with better research foreign entities. And unethical research practices may occur when data is shared freely. Um, Companies may use this to gain advantage over business competitors, discriminate against groups or individuals, accelerate biotechnology development unethically. And then economic advantage. Local researchers and communities may miss on potential economic benefit if their genetic data is exploited without better compensation or recognition. And from the perspective of the community, there may be loss of trust, and it results due to the fact that patients will now be reluctant to participate in future research. Also, there may be psychological impact where participants become anxious and distressed over potential discrimination or misuse of their data. And so, we would like to rebut some claims that our proponents may raise. And one is that there are regional and country specific policies. And we think that despite the existence of these policies, there are still challenges. The different legal standards and regulations by different countries create a patchwork that is very difficult to navigate. And also, the general data policies are often too broad and are not specific to genetic data, and so they fail to consider the sensitive and personal nature of genetic information. Also, our proponents may claim that informed consents are taken during sample taking, but then we also think that true informed consent requires ongoing um, community engagement that is continuous, and then education, in-depth education about the use of their genetic data, but then it's often lacking in most studies. And then also, finally, our proponents may propose that freely sharing genetic data may result in collaboration. But we also think that not freely sharing genetic data can also significantly foster capacity building and enhance in-house research within specific countries. And collaborations that foster capacity building and training would fully be enhanced. And an example is the case of the H3 Africa project, which then trained bioinformaticians here in Africa, and then also enhanced genetic research here in Africa. And so, in conclusion, we ask ourselves, what is the way forward? And we think that genetic data should be treated with utmost care. It should be safeguarded by stringent legal frameworks, and should be shared under ethically sound guidelines to prevent misuse and protect individual rights. All stakeholders have a role to play. Researchers have a role to prioritize ethical consideration and data privacy. And then also, I'd like to highlight the fact that researchers need to participate in policy making process and ensure that policies protect research participants. The legislature also has a role to play to enact laws to protect genetic data and ensure privacy. Policymakers also have a role to play by providing an enabling environment to boost local research and collaboration. And then advocacy groups and then the public have a role to play by ensuring that they participate in public education programs about genetic research and its benefits, and then also ensure that they are equipped with knowledge to make informed decisions. So, in conclusion, the question whether genetic data should be freely shared among researchers in Africa is a multifaceted question, and it requires a balanced approach. While the potential benefits of accelerated research, health equity, and collaboration are significant. The ethical, privacy, and exploitation concerns cannot be ignored. Sharing genetic data must be done in accordance with ethical standards, legal frameworks, and human rights, especially those related with privacy. These are some references for our presentation. Any questions?